There comes a moment in everyone's life when you finally realize that waiting for the world to understand you, waiting for people to support you, waiting for the right timing was never the way forward. Because the truth is, life begins the day you stop chasing everything outside of you and start building everything within you. Welcome to Focus on Yourself and Improve Your Life. This audiobook isn't about selfishness. It's about self-mastery. It's about redirecting your energy from distraction to direction, from validation to evolution, from noise to clarity. So if you've been lost, if you've been drained, if you've been wondering why life feels stuck, this is your call to rise, to rebuild your focus, to remember your power. Because when you focus on yourself, everything changes. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Awakening. You've been taught your whole life to give. Give your time. Give your energy. Give your attention, often to people who wouldn't do the same for you. And somewhere along the way, you forgot the one person who needed that focus most. You. Here's the hard truth. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't lift others if you're falling apart inside. So stop. Take a deep breath. Look in the mirror. That person staring back at you, that's the project. That's the mission. That's the masterpiece in progress. You don't need anyone's permission to prioritize your peace. You don't need to justify protecting your energy. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred. Because the moment you reclaim your focus, your whole world begins to shift. You start noticing how much energy you've wasted chasing approval, explaining yourself, fighting for attention that was never yours to win. And you realize you were never behind. You were just distracted. Your purpose has been waiting for you, buried under everyone else's noise. When you start choosing silence over chaos, clarity over confusion, you begin to feel something new. Control. That's the moment your power returns. Remember, you can't change your life until you stop trying to control everything except yourself. Chapter 2. The Power of Self-Awareness. Before you can change your life, you have to understand yourself. And that's the part most people skip. Self-awareness isn't glamorous. It's uncomfortable. It means facing your patterns, your habits, your excuses. It means admitting that sometimes you are the one holding yourself back. But awareness is power, because you can't improve what you won't identify. Ask yourself, where am I leaking energy? Who am I constantly trying to impress? What do I keep doing that no longer serves who I want to become? Your life is the reflection of your habits. Your habits are the reflection of your mindset. And your mindset is the reflection of what you believe you deserve. So, what do you truly believe you deserve? If your answer is peace, you must stop feeding chaos. If your answer is success, you must stop settling for mediocrity. If your answer is happiness, you must stop chasing things that hurt you. The most painful realization comes when you see how much you've contributed to your own suffering. But that pain, it's not punishment. It's instruction. It's awareness waking you up. Because the moment you take responsibility for your patterns, you also claim the power to change them. Remember, the greatest freedom comes the day you stop blaming and start becoming. Chapter 3. Cutting out the noise. We live in a world addicted to distraction. Every second, someone is trying to steal your attention. Notifications, opinions, trends, drama. Everyone is screaming, and few are listening. But here's the secret the world doesn't want you to know. Focus. is your superpower. Every time you scroll mindlessly, every time you argue pointlessly, every time you compare endlessly, you're giving away energy that could have built your future. What if you took that same energy and redirected it into your growth? What if you stopped checking who's watching your story and started writing your story instead? You would transform. The reason your life feels stuck isn't because you lack talent or luck. It's because your focus is fragmented, and fragmented focus creates fragmented results. Discipline is born when distraction dies. So make it your mission to guard your mind like your most valuable asset. Because it is. Stop chasing what's trending. Start chasing what's true. The more you focus on yourself, the quieter the noise becomes. And in that silence, you start to hear your purpose again. Remember, peace isn't found in silence. It's found in selective attention. Chapter 4. Letting Go to Grow. One of the hardest parts of focusing on yourself is realizing who and what no longer fits. Growth demands separation. You cannot reach your next level surrounded by people who are comfortable with your old one. Let that sink in. Some people loved you when you were lost because your confusion made them comfortable. They celebrated your smallness because your light didn't threaten theirs. But when you start changing, when you start setting boundaries and chasing better, don't be surprised when they say you've changed. Because you have. And that's the point. Letting go doesn't mean hate. It means health. It means no longer negotiating your worth. It means no longer apologizing for your standards. The people who belong in your future will respect your evolution. The rest will reveal their true place in your past. You are not obligated to keep shrinking to fit spaces that no longer hold your growth. So let go. Not out of anger, but alignment. Because peace costs too much to keep paying for it with your sanity. Remember, when you stop chasing people, you start catching purpose. Chapter 5. The Discipline of Focus. Focus isn't just mental, it's emotional. It's the discipline to keep showing up for yourself, even when no one notices, even when no one claps, even when it's boring. Discipline is self-respect in motion. Every morning you wake up early when you don't have to. You're declaring to life, I take myself seriously. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you build a foundation of trust within your own soul. And once you trust yourself, no external validation can replace that power. It's not motivation that changes your life. It's consistency, because consistency compounds. So make a promise to yourself today that you'll be disciplined enough to follow through, focused enough to stay the course, and patient enough to see the results manifest. The day you stop looking for quick wins and start building long-term vision, that's the day your old life ends and your new one begins. Remember, motivation starts you. Discipline transforms you. You're only at the beginning of this journey, but already the old you is fading. You're starting to see that focusing on yourself isn't isolation. It's elevation. The next chapters will take you deeper into the art of emotional control, purpose, and identity. Because this isn't just about success, it's about becoming unshakable. Chapter 6. The silence that builds you when you finally stop explaining yourself to the world. When you stop arguing to prove your worth, when you stop seeking validation for your every move, you enter a new phase of peace. That peace is called silence. And silence is not weakness. It's wisdom in disguise. Because silence gives you something noise never can. Perspective. You begin to see clearly. You begin to observe. You begin to understand that not every action requires your reaction. Not every insult deserves your energy. And not every opportunity deserves your attention. The power of silence is that it turns chaos into clarity. It's where your intuition gets louder. It's where your strength recharges. And it's where your next breakthrough is born. When you focus on yourself, silence becomes your new language. You learn to respond with progress, not with arguments. You learn that revenge is temporary, but success is permanent, and that real peace isn't in getting even, it's in getting better. So stay quiet when you need to, work when no one's watching, build when everyone else is distracted. Because when your results start speaking, the noise will silence itself. Remember, silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. Chapter 7. Comparison is the thief of growth. There's no faster way to destroy your focus than comparison. Every time you measure your life against someone else's, you rob yourself of joy. Social media made it worse. You scroll and see someone's highlight reel and start questioning your entire reality. But remember this, people post moments, not mirrors. They share what they want you to see, not what they fight in silence. And when you constantly compare, you lose the rhythm of your own progress. You stop appreciating how far you've come because you're too busy watching someone else's path. Comparison turns gratitude into resentment, but focus turns comparison into inspiration. The only person you need to be better than is who you were yesterday. That's it. That's the only metric that matters. The person you're becoming deserves all your attention because your journey is custom built for your purpose, and no one else can walk it but you. So unfollow the noise if you have to. Mute the distraction. Protect your mental space like it's sacred ground, because it is. You're not behind. You're building. You're not losing. You're learning. Every step forward, even if unseen, is progress. And that's where your power is. Remember, when you stop comparing, you start creating. Chapter 8. The habits that define you. Every day, you are voting for the person you will become through your habits. The small choices you make in silence build your loudest results. What you do consistently shapes who you are permanently. Do you wake up with intention or drift into distraction? Do you use your mornings to create or to consume? Do you spend your nights reflecting or escaping? Habits are your true identity in motion. Not what you say, not what you dream, but what you do when no one is watching. Every time you choose discipline over desire, you win. Every time you choose focus over comfort, you evolve. Every time you keep your promise to yourself, you build unshakable self-respect. That's what success is made of. Not luck, not shortcuts, not trends, but quiet, consistent, focused effort that compounds into greatness. You are one habit away from a completely different life. Start with one thing. Wake up earlier. Read instead of scroll. Move your body. Write your goals. Build your boundaries. And one day, you'll realize you didn't change overnight. You just became consistent enough to make it visible. Remember, your habits create your horizon. Chapter 9. The strength of saying no. When you focus on yourself, you start saying no more often. No to what drains you. No to what distracts you. No to what no longer aligns with your purpose. And at first, it feels uncomfortable because you were taught that no makes you selfish. But in reality, no is sacred. It protects your yeses. Every time you say no to something meaningless, you create space for something meaningful. When you stop being a people pleaser, you start being a purpose chaser. The truth is, you can't do everything and still be great at anything. Focus requires elimination. You can't evolve while saying yes to every invitation, every opinion, every obligation. So ask yourself, is this helping me grow? Is this aligned with who I'm becoming? Or is this just another distraction dressed as duty? Your peace will multiply the moment you stop living to please and start living to progress. You don't owe explanations for your boundaries. Your time, your energy, your attention, they are investments. Spend them wisely, because every no you say from strength is actually a yes to your higher self. Remember, every strong yes is built on 100 quiet no's. Chapter 10, The Energy of Alignment. Have you ever noticed that when you're in alignment, everything flows easier? The right people show up, opportunities unfold, your creativity rises. That's not luck, that's alignment. When your habits match your goals, when your thoughts match your actions, when your values match your lifestyle, life stops feeling forced. You start attracting what you've been chasing, not because the world suddenly changes, but because you do. Alignment is when what you want, what you think, and what you do finally speak the same language. It's when your inner world and outer world begin to agree. But alignment doesn't happen by accident. It's built through awareness and discipline. You can't live in chaos and expect calm. You can't live in distraction and expect direction. You can't live in doubt and expect destiny. So make a decision to only entertain what matches your vision, to only nurture what nourishes your spirit, to only walk in spaces that grow you. That's alignment. That's focus. That's freedom. Remember, when your energy aligns, your life refines. You're learning how to build focus from the inside out. But what happens when life tests that focus? When chaos comes back? When people try to pull you out of peace? When the old patterns return? That's where real transformation happens. Because discipline means staying centered when everything around you isn't. And that's exactly where we're heading next. Into the art of resilience, emotional control, and staying calm under pressure. Chapter 11, The Test of Distraction. It's easy to focus on yourself when life is quiet. When there's no noise, no pressure, no chaos, focus feels natural. But that's not the real test. The real test comes when everything around you starts demanding attention, when old habits return, when drama calls your name, when the world tries to pull you back into old cycles. That's when focus becomes a fight, because distractions don't always look like chaos. Sometimes they look like comfort. They sound like familiarity. They wear the face of your old life, whispering, "Just one more time won't hurt." But every time you look back, you delay your comeback. Every time you entertain what you've outgrown, you slow the version of yourself that's trying to emerge. Remember this, you can't move forward while looking in the rearview mirror. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about saying, "This time I choose different," over and over until the new you becomes natural. Because real focus isn't proven in comfort. It's proven in chaos. Remember, when distractions test you, your focus defines you. Chapter 12, Mastering Your Emotions. Focus is impossible without emotional control, because every time you let your emotions control your actions, you hand over your power. When you react impulsively, you lose clarity. When you let anger guide your decisions, you create regret. When you let fear dictate your path, you shrink your potential. Emotional intelligence isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about understanding them, mastering them. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is it truth or is it a trigger? Is this emotion moving me forward or holding me hostage? When you learn to pause before reacting, you unlock a level of strength few people ever reach. Because silence in the face of chaos isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Patience in the middle of frustration isn't laziness, it's maturity. And calm in the storm isn't avoidance, it's awareness. The more you control your emotions, the less control the world has over you. Remember, maturity begins the moment you stop letting your emotions lead your life. Chapter 13. The Beauty of Being Alone. Most people fear being alone. They associate it with loneliness, with rejection, with failure. But solitude is not isolation, it's transformation. When you finally sit with yourself, without distractions, without noise, you meet the real you, the unfiltered version, the version that doesn't perform for others, the version that simply is. In solitude, you reconnect with your purpose. You hear the thoughts that have been buried under the weight of the world's expectations. You remember what peace feels like. Being alone is where your creativity blooms. It's where self-respect grows. It's where you stop chasing validation and start building value. The people who fear solitude are often the ones afraid of self-confrontation, but the ones who embrace it, they rise above. Because once you learn to enjoy your own company, you'll never again feel the need to beg for someone else's attention. Remember, solitude is the soil where self-respect grows. Chapter 14. Building Internal Confidence. Confidence isn't built in front of people, it's built in private. It's not about loudness, arrogance, or appearance. It's about trust. Confidence is the quiet understanding that no matter what happens, you'll handle it. It's walking into uncertainty, knowing your foundation is solid. It's believing in your preparation more than your circumstances. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself enough to keep going even when they don't. The world celebrates results, but rarely honors the process. But true confidence grows from process, from showing up on the days that don't shine, from failing, learning, and rebuilding again and again. Confidence is forged in struggle, it's sculpted by discipline, and it's fueled by consistency. Every rep in the gym, every early morning, every quiet decision to stay focused. That's confidence in action. Don't wait to feel confident before acting. Act, and confidence will follow. Remember, confidence isn't a mood, it's a muscle. Chapter 15. Your relationship with yourself. You talk to yourself more than anyone else on this planet. So the way you speak internally shapes the quality of your entire life. What's your inner dialogue like? Is it full of doubt or direction? Is it critical or compassionate? Is it reactive or intentional? Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship you have. If you don't respect yourself, you'll tolerate disrespect. If you don't love yourself, you'll chase love that hurts. If you don't trust yourself, you'll seek approval that never satisfies. Start treating yourself the way you wish others would. Speak kindly. Encourage often. Forgive deeply. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. You don't need to have it all figured out. You need to be honest about where you are. Focus on healing your inner dialogue, and your outer world will begin to align with peace, because everything external is a reflection of your internal state. Remember, the conversation you have with yourself creates the life you live. Chapter 16. Healing Through Focus. Healing isn't always about talking. Sometimes it's about doing. It's about proving to yourself through action that you're no longer who you were. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you heal a piece of your past that once kept you stuck. Healing through focus means you stop replaying the pain and start rewriting the pattern. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" You start living for tomorrow instead of reliving yesterday. The past can't change, but your relationship with it can. You can choose to use your pain as a prison or as a path to power. Focus doesn't erase your past. It redefines it. Because when you're too busy building your future, you stop bleeding over your history. Remember, healing isn't forgetting. It's focusing forward. You've learned to guard your focus, master your emotions, and respect your solitude. But the next chapter takes everything deeper. We'll talk about identity, the transformation that happens when focus becomes who you are, not just what you do. Because when focusing on yourself becomes your lifestyle, your entire destiny begins to change shape. Chapter 17. The Evolution of Identity. There comes a point when focusing on yourself no longer feels like work. It feels like home. It's not something you force. It becomes who you are. Because your focus is your foundation. It's what everything else is built on. Your success, your health, your peace, your purpose. You start to realize something powerful. You were never meant to find yourself. You were meant to build yourself. Every decision you've made, every boundary you've set, every distraction you've cut away, they've been shaping the new you. And that's the truth about growth. You don't wake up one morning transformed. You evolve gradually through 1,000 micro decisions that align with your future, not your past. One day, you'll look in the mirror and realize the old you no longer fits. You'll see the person you've become and barely recognize the version that once tolerated chaos, procrastination, and people-pleasing. You've outgrown survival. Now you're building structure. Now you're living with clarity. This is identity evolution, when who you were no longer aligns with who you're becoming. Remember, you don't find yourself by looking back. You build yourself by moving forward. Chapter 18. The Law of Energy. Exchange. Your focus is energy, and energy is currency. How you spend it determines what you attract. If you spend energy on gossip, you attract chaos. If you spend energy on gratitude, you attract peace. If you spend energy on self-discipline, you attract success. Everything you give attention to expands. That's the law of focus. When you start managing your energy like money, your entire life shifts. You stop investing in things that don't give returns. You stop pouring into people who don't refill. You stop wasting emotional currency on drama that doesn't deserve your attention. And you begin saving your energy for what truly matters: your goals, your health, your purpose, your growth. The 1% of people who truly excel aren't smarter. They're simply more selective. They don't react to everything. They respond to what matters. Remember, what you focus on, you feed. What you neglect, you starve. So ask yourself daily, am I feeding my future or fueling my fears? Remember, Your focus is your frequency, and your frequency attracts your future. Chapter 19. Surroundings Shape Success. You can't grow in the same environment that made you stagnant. Your surroundings influence your mindset more than you realize. If you're around complainers, you'll start complaining. If you're around dreamers, you'll start building. If you're around winners, you'll start winning. Energy is contagious, and so is mediocrity. That's why focusing on yourself often feels lonely at first, because not everyone wants to go where you're going. Not everyone is meant to. The path of growth is narrow, not because others can't walk it, but because few are willing to let go of comfort to climb higher. You'll outgrow people. You'll lose connections. You'll even be misunderstood. But don't let that make you bitter. Let it make you better. The right people will find you when you become the right person for your goals, because your energy will attract what aligns with your evolution. Don't chase company. Build character. The right tribe always finds the right frequency. Remember, when you raise your standards, your circle adjusts itself. Chapter 20. Time is your greatest investment. You can always earn more money. You can't earn more time. And yet, people spend their days like time is infinite. They waste hours on gossip, on scrolling, on drama, and then wonder why their life feels empty. Time is the ultimate mirror. It reflects your priorities. So if you truly want to focus on yourself, you must learn to respect time as your most valuable currency. Audit your day. Where does your time go? Who gets your best hours? Are you investing in creation or drowning in consumption? Every hour spent aimlessly is an hour stolen from your purpose. Start scheduling your focus like it's sacred, because it is. Make time for your growth the same way you make time for distractions. Because one day, time will run out, and the only thing left will be the life you built with it. The most successful people on this planet didn't find more time. They just stopped wasting it. Remember, time isn't money, it's meaning. Chapter 21. The Rewards of Patience. We live in a world addicted to instant results. Instant likes, instant notifications, instant validation. But greatness doesn't grow in microwaves. It grows in seasons. You can't plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow. Patience is the bridge between intention and manifestation. When you're truly focused on yourself, you learn to fall in love with the process, not just the payoff. You start trusting divine timing instead of rushing artificial timelines. Because while the world is sprinting, you're building foundations. While others are chasing speed, you're mastering stability. And in the end, you'll last longer, because what's built slowly is built to stay. Patience doesn't mean waiting without work. It means working without worry. It means staying calm while time catches up to your effort. Remember, rushed success collapses. Rooted success compounds. Remember, patience isn't passive, it's powerful preparation. Chapter 22. The Art of Detachment. Focusing on yourself also means learning to detach from outcomes, from approval, from control. Detachment isn't apathy, it's awareness. It's understanding that your peace shouldn't depend on external validation. When you're too attached to results, you live in anxiety. When you're too attached to people's opinions, you live in fear. When you're too attached to control, you live in exhaustion. But when you detach, you live in freedom. You learn to give your best and let go of the rest. You stop forcing what's not flowing. You start trusting what's meant for you won't require constant chasing. Detachment gives you clarity. It helps you act from peace, not pressure. Because when you're no longer desperate to make everything happen right now, you finally create the space for miracles to unfold. Remember, detachment isn't giving up, it's growing up. You're learning to evolve into the version of yourself that doesn't chase, you attract. That doesn't rush, you align. That doesn't react, you respond. In the next part, we'll go deeper into the mechanics of transformation, how self-focus becomes momentum, how daily consistency creates massive change, and how to turn internal power into external success. Chapter 23, Momentum builds miracles. Momentum doesn't come from big wins. It's born from small, repetitive choices done consistently. It's forged in the quiet moments when no one sees you trying. Think about it. Every major breakthrough in your life started with something small, a decision, a habit, a change in thought. And at first, it didn't feel powerful. It felt ordinary. But ordinary done consistently becomes extraordinary. The problem is, most people quit before momentum catches fire. They give up because the results aren't visible yet. But you have to remember, roots grow before flowers bloom. When you focus on yourself long enough, when you keep showing up for your growth every day, the energy begins to compound. The confidence begins to build. The universe begins to align with your effort. And suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes natural. You're not lucky. You're consistent. You're not gifted. You're focused. Every day you show up is another push toward your destiny. Keep going when no one claps. Keep building when no one believes. Because one day your momentum will make so much noise that silence won't be possible anymore. Remember, consistency doesn't look powerful until it changes everything. Chapter 24, The Compound Effect of Self-Respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build a layer of self-respect. And self-respect, over time, compounds like interest. It starts small. You keep a single commitment. You go to the gym, you wake up early, you finish that project. At first, it feels like nothing changes. But internally, a seed is planted, a belief that says, I can trust myself. That's where confidence truly comes from. Not from words, but from proof. Each time you follow through, that belief strengthens. Each time you break a promise to yourself, that belief weakens. And the people who win in life aren't the ones with perfect plans. They're the ones who keep their promises. You can't build success on self-betrayal. You can't feel powerful when your own word means nothing. So start small. Do what you said you'd do. Not for show, not for approval, but for the version of you that's watching silently, hoping you'll finally keep your word. Remember, discipline is how you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. Chapter 25, Reclaiming Your Attention. Your attention is the new currency, and right now, the world is fighting for every second of it. Every notification, every algorithm, every scroll, all designed to pull your focus away from what truly matters, you. But when you learn to control your attention, you take back your life. You start creating instead of consuming. You start thinking instead of reacting. You start living intentionally instead of drifting mindlessly. Attention creates direction. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your results grow. The people who seem calm in chaos, they're not superhuman. They've simply trained their attention. They know what deserves a reaction and what deserves release. So ask yourself, What are you paying attention to that doesn't pay you back? Whose drama are you funding with your focus? Whose validation are you renting your peace to? You don't need to delete your goals. You need to delete your distractions. Remember, focus is not about doing more. It's about doing less, better. Chapter 26, The Price of Growth. Growth is expensive. It costs comfort. It costs certainty. It costs relationships that can't go where you're headed. And that's why most people avoid it. Not because they can't grow, but because they're not ready to pay for it. Every step toward your higher self demands that you shed a version of your old self. You'll lose habits, identities, and even people who were once central to your story. It hurts. But that pain isn't punishment. It's the price of transformation, because growth doesn't just give. It takes. It takes excuses. It takes illusions. It takes the smallness you once accepted as normal. But what it gives in return is priceless. Peace, clarity, purpose, freedom. You're not losing when you let go. You're making space. You're clearing the ground for something far greater to grow. So stop fearing the cost of growth and start fearing the cost of staying the same. Remember, comfort is cheap, but it will cost you your potential. Chapter 27, Your energy is your environment. Energy isn't invisible. It's instructional. The people around you don't just influence your energy, they shape it. Spend time with people who complain, and your motivation drains. Spend time with people who inspire, and your energy multiplies. It's that simple. Energy doesn't lie. You can feel when you walk into a room, whether it uplifts you or suppresses you. That's why focusing on yourself isn't about isolation. It's about selection. Be intentional about who you let close. Your energy is sacred, and not everyone should have access to it. Protect your peace like you protect your passwords. Not everyone deserves the code to your mind. And once you learn that, you'll realize peace isn't found. It's chosen. So surround yourself with people who talk about growth, not gossip. Ideas, not individuals. Solutions, not complaints. You become what you allow to influence you. So choose wisely. Remember, if it drains you more than it drives you, it doesn't belong near you. Chapter 28, The Inner Game of Success. Most people chase outer success without ever winning the inner game. They want wealth, status, recognition, but they neglect peace, discipline, and purpose. And that's why success feels empty for so many. The outer game is what the world sees. The inner game is what sustains it. It's the ability to stay calm in chaos, to delay gratification, to handle rejection with composure, to keep moving even when no one believes in you. The real prize isn't money, it's mastery. The ability to govern your thoughts and emotions so well that nothing external can shake you. Focus on building strength inside before chasing symbols outside. Because external success without inner peace is still failure. It just looks better on camera. Remember, win within, and the world can't take it away. You've now learned how focus builds consistency, how discipline compounds, and how your energy becomes your foundation. But what's next? In the next chapter, we'll explore how to transform your growth into impact, how to become the person whose presence elevates others without losing your center. Because focusing on yourself isn't the end. It's the beginning of your ability to change the world. Chapter 29, From Growth to Impact. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's preparation. Because once you grow, once you become stable, once you build peace inside, your energy starts to overflow. And that overflow is what transforms others. You can't pour light into the world when your own flame is barely burning. You can't help others rise if you're constantly collapsing under your own chaos. But when you heal, when you build, when you rise, you start to become an example, not because you preach louder, but because your presence becomes proof. The people around you will feel it. They'll see it in the way you speak, in the way you handle problems, in the way you no longer beg for attention or validation. You start to inspire without trying. You become a walking reminder that self-focus creates self-power, and self-power creates ripple effects. Your growth helps others believe in their own. That's the paradox of focusing on yourself. The more you build within, the more value you bring without. So never feel guilty for choosing yourself first, because every healed person becomes a source of healing for others. Remember, the most powerful way to change the world is to master yourself first. Chapter 30. The Balance Between Hustle and Healing. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle. Work harder, sleep less, grind nonstop. But what if I told you, true focus is not just about doing more, it's about doing better. You can work endlessly and still stay stuck if your energy is scattered. You can rest intentionally and come back 10 times stronger if your energy is aligned. Focusing on yourself means learning balance. There are seasons to push, and there are seasons to pause. One is for building, the other is for becoming. Healing is not the opposite of hustle. It's the fuel that sustains it, because burnout doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too little of what truly fulfills you. So slow down when your body whispers before it has to scream. Rest when needed, but don't confuse rest with retreat. Recovery is also discipline. You are allowed to breathe, but never to break your own promise. Remember, balance isn't found. It's created through awareness. Chapter 31. The Power of Reinvention. At any moment, you have permission to reinvent yourself. You are not obligated to stay the same person who made past mistakes, who tolerated less, who doubted more. The beauty of life is that you can start over, again and again. Every time you focus on yourself, you are reinventing your identity. You're reshaping your story. You're editing your narrative with new beliefs and better habits. Don't wait for a perfect day to start over. Start now, right now, because transformation doesn't need permission. It needs decision. Forget who you were told you should be. Forget the version of you that was defined by pain. Begin designing the version of you that aligns with purpose. You're not broken. You're becoming. You're not behind. You're building. You're not lost. You're leveling up. Reinvention is not betrayal. It's evolution. Remember, you owe no loyalty to your old limitations. It's when your purpose, your peace, and your power finally sync. You begin to live with effortlessness, not because the path is smooth, but because you are stable. And when you are stable, no storm can destroy you. Let your life move like water, calm, powerful, adaptable, unstoppable. Flow doesn't mean surrendering your ambition. It means directing it wisely. Remember, when focus meets peace, flow begins. Chapter 40. Become the person you're proud of. At the end of this audiobook, I want you to ask yourself one question. If I stay focused on myself, not for ego, but for elevation, what kind of person could I become? Picture it. The calm in your presence, the confidence in your walk, the clarity in your decisions, the peace in your tone. You don't chase anymore, you attract. You don't beg for validation, you embody it. You don't need control, you are control. That's the power of focusing on yourself. It's not about building a life others admire, it's about building a life you respect. Becoming proud of yourself is the ultimate success. And when you reach that point, you'll realize you didn't just change your habits, you changed your energy. You didn't just improve your life, you elevated your existence. Remember, when you're proud of who you are, you stop needing the world's approval. Final message. The new beginning. This audiobook isn't an ending, it's an awakening. It's a reminder that everything you want begins with focus. Focus on peace. Focus on progress. Focus on purpose. And everything else will align naturally. If this journey moved something inside you, if it made you pause, reflect, or breathe a little deeper, then take a moment right now. Hit like as a promise to yourself that from this moment forward, you'll invest your energy in your evolution. Comment below and share one thing you'll start focusing on: your health, your habits, your goals. Declare it publicly so your future self can thank you later. And if this audiobook gave you perspective, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more clarity. Finally, subscribe, not for me, but for you, so that every week you can return to this journey, refuel your focus, and remember who you're becoming. Because your evolution isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. And as you walk away from this, remember one truth: the world changes for those who master themselves first. And closing line: the most powerful investment you will ever make is the time you spend becoming your best self.